There are 4 under the radar skill sets that the top 1% use that we are going to be discussing today to help take you to the next level. Hello, I am Joe Rocky, and during this conversation, we are going to be doing exactly that, going through the 4 key things that the top 1% are doing that we ourselves are not. The order of this operation is going to be as such. We're going to do the first 3, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to join the casino sales master world, followed by the 4th one. And then we're going to do all of the live questions that are addressing us here during today's live broadcast. So with that being said, let's throw a starting point as far as what clients are expecting in the world of sales. It all really goes back to the 1960s, if not worse, where the true trope of horrible salespeople was created, which was, you're not getting off this lot unless you leave with the car I want you to buy. Yes, the used car salesman image has been plastered throughout all of us and has stained all selling throughout history, really. And the way you know that this is true is because every single one of us have had this experience. We were told growing up, always tell the truth. Always answer questions that are posed to you. But the first time we saw any of our parents get contacted by a salesperson, they lied. And why did they lie? Because they didn't want to be used. No individual wants to be used for any purpose whatsoever. And that was the dynamic, is the dynamic of most sales out there. So then what happens? Amazon and eBay come into power. So everyone flocks to the internet. At least I don't have to get assaulted and used. I don't get any plus sides, but I don't get any negative sides either. So that's at least an upgrade. So I'll go there. But the problem is that the typical internet sale is only done through features and benefits. People do not buy through features or benefits. And it's kind of proven pretty easily. You've never seen a successful online jewelry store. And the reason is when people are going to be buying something that's important, not necessarily expensive, but important, they want to be able to have contact with the salesperson. That is why the element of being in sales is so important. Now, I'm going to address this right here because if not, we'll get like 500 questions about it, which is, why does your book say Casino Sales Master on it? And the reason for that is that my sales system works. And I had to figure out a way to show the grand scale of its success that goes beyond just, hey, we sold this really awesome niche product in a small environment. So I took it to a place that has guaranteed mathematical failure, which is a casino floor. You already know the house always wins because they do. They have literally rigged the system. So if you can make a sales system work where you are guaranteed to have failure, well, that's really something. And that's exactly what it works. And Casino Sales Master goes beyond just what the other elite sales courses teach you, which is the skeleton system, how to establish a meeting, how to discover the true pain, get in front of a decision maker, etc. We look and really truly focus on the other side of that coin, which is, how do you get someone to instantly know you are trustworthy? It's a really, really hard question. And it's contrary to all of the elements of sales, because all of your history and competitive contrast is by salespeople using you. You're only getting off this lot if you buy the car that I want you to. The way that you do this is you use what abilities your mind has already given you. Close your eyes for a second and just visualize. At the end of the corner of the street that you're on stands Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor. Instantly, you would know that that is a powerful man. Just visually looking at him. the way he carries himself, his stature, his muscles, etc. He's the governor. You know he's a powerful person. But likewise, our minds have the exact same ability to look at someone and go, I want to open up to them, or I definitely don't want to open up to them. We all have that ability and that skill set. Within your own world, I'm sure you can recall a couple of people who you just keep telling things to, even things you probably shouldn't be, but you just keep talking and talking and talking. And there's a couple of people in that category. Normally, we call those our best friends. And there's also way more people that we don't want to have anything know about us at all. Like they can't know a single thing about us. And as we look at this and go, why? Why is it so much easier to connect to only a few people than many? And the true answer is because 97% of us do not know how we form our own relationships, let alone how to teach them to someone else. That is the crux, the glue, the strength behind what Casino Sales Master is all about. In fact, actually, 2 of the 4 skills that you're going to be taught during this remaining 50 minutes are specifically geared toward that, taken directly from the course. And where we're going to start with this is the fundamental fact is you can look at someone and know if I can trust them or not. But what holds the individual back from getting into that same spot is pretty much the same reason what holds people back from winning marathons. It takes a lot of effort. It's going to be hard. And most people would flat out just rather stay on their couch. And if that's your world, that's your world. There's a reason there's only 1% of the top 1%. But the way in which you do this is you have to be prepared that there's going to be pains. Just as when you see marathoners running, they look like they're in agony sometimes. This is going to be the case too, just from an emotional, mental standpoint. And you're going to have to get through one of the hardest things, and one of the things that every coach kind of tells people you got to do, which is get outside your comfort zone. The real truth behind that answer is you're going to have to be willing to be vulnerable. You're going to have to be willing to go to places that I don't want to go there. My mind doesn't want to go there. It doesn't want to think about this. But you have to. You know, there's so many different ways we can go about approaching vulnerability. We can either go to the extreme of pure optimism. Everything's happy. Everything's awesome. I don't ever have to worry about anything going bad because everything's perfect and great. Or we can go to extreme pessimism, which says that, you know what? There's no point in starting the day. It's going to be horrible. I'm just gonna disappear. I'm just gonna hide and disappear. Well, both of those realities put you in bad situations for growth. If you're only high in the clouds and pure optimism, when something bad inevitably does happen, you're going to fall and you're going to collapse, and it's going to be like impossible to get up. Likewise, if you're afraid to get out of the pessimistic state, you're never going to grow into strength. And either way, you're not going to want to put the work in. The reality is that you need to stay in the center. The center is where realism lives. I'd argue put a slight shade towards optimism, but you're going to want to be in the center. Now, all of that is a buildup for what the first skill that we're going to be teaching as far as the 5 or the 4 under the radar skills that the top 1% use. And that is how to keep limitations from defining us. We're all going to face a limitation, probably many at the same time, but we're all going to face them. Whether that be a lack of time, a lack of energy, a lack of money, a lack of prestige, a lack of followers, you name it, there is the possibility of not having enough of it, a limitation of resources. And oftentimes, when we view that massive pile of darkness in front of us that is these limitations, it's daunting. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of things that could hold you back from success. But if you turn around, you realize you're standing in a shadow. And the shadow is being projected from yourself. So I'm going to invite you to do this exercise with me here to be able to overcome your limitations so that you never have to worry about being entrapped by them again. So if you would please close your eyes. If you haven't already, please turn off all your other notifications. Kind of did that one without saying, but please turn off all your notifications. Cell phone's not going to buzz. None of the chimes from Windows are going to go off within your computer. Door is closed. Complete calm. Now close your eyes and allow your mind to settle. Yes, I know there are certain problems of the day that are rattling within there, and we will address those. But for the moment, just let your mind settle and calm. Go to a state of quiet and serenity. And within your mind's eye, notice that you're standing in front of a lake. And as your mind is becoming calmer, the water upon that lake is becoming stiller and stiller. And this is a great lake, circular lake with sandy beaches all around it. And you start to walk around these sandy beaches. And as you're walking, you notice that within the sand, there's something peculiar about it. There's actually words written in the sand. Some of the words are written so small you can barely read them, and some of them are written so large they don't even look like they fit. Interesting. And what these words are, they're all different attributes and abilities. And for some reason, the ones that you like doing more are written larger, and the ones you like doing less are written smaller. And you notice as you look forward down the sandy beach, there are more words written than you can imagine. And as you turn around and look behind down your sandy beach, likewise, a vast, near infinite amount of words that are your abilities and attributes that you have acquired throughout your life. The ones you love doing written the largest, the ones you don't written the smallest. And as you continue to walk around this beach, admiring all of the great attributes and skills in which you possess, you notice that there is a stone, roughly the size of a baseball, and you pick it up. It's not really that heavy, and you just absentmindedly throw it into that lake, and it lands perfectly within the center of the lake. The lake then begins to create ripple effects that go out and cover up the words that were on the sand. And as it recedes, there are only 3 to 6 words written along the beach. And all of these are skills and attributes that you possess. And when that stone that carried all of the problems that are bothering you inside your mind landed in that lake, the lake knew exactly what skills and attributes to give back to you. And they are written right there in the sand. Now, etch those 3 to 6 skills and attributes within your mind. Etch them within your soul. If you need to, open your eyes and either type them in or write them down. Your calling for the remainder of this week, if not infinitely beyond, is to look for opportunities to use those 3 to 6 attributes. In those attributes, you will find your tools for success. Because within each of those attributes are what you love doing and you are talented within doing. And as you go through life, looking for opportunities to use what was uniquely important and powerful to yourself, you will learn there's not a limitation of resources. There's an opportunity to lean into what I am best at. And it is the process of looking and ascertaining for those opportunities to utilize your abilities is how you overcome resources. Your mind will naturally shift from not having enough of something to constantly grabbing to more and knowing that you have the ability to overcome any limitation. That is the natural essence of how to overcome your resources. And to go back to the original analogy, what you will discover is that the shadow of limitations has gone away, and you can turn around and look at the sunrise behind you. Now, this is going to lead right into the second skill. How do we find prospects that will value us? Now, note this is very different from how do I fill the top of a funnel. Finding prospects that will value you is the key to having a successful business and sales cycle. If you put the wrong prospects through your business, you will eventually break it. The more wrong they are, the faster you'll break it. You know, all those complaints that come in and all the HR fix-ups that we have to deal with, most of them start by putting the wrong prospect through the system. So how do we find prospects that will actually value us? Well, there's a reason we put the first one first, because we have to know what it is that we value in ourselves, what it is that we are looking to achieve, both as individuals and as our entities. Are we going to be the firm that can solve this problem gracefully? Are we going to be the kind that comes out and diminishes our competition? Are we going to be the kind that does this, that, or the other? All the other business practices you can think of, there are opportunities in which that you can do that. There is no rule book in how to communicate with each other. That's one of the joys of life. That's one of the joys of relationships. So full circle, how do we get the prospects that will value us? Well, we have to start getting really clear on what we are. Let's use an example in pizza. Everyone loves pizza, so here we go. Bring out 3 different companies: Pizza Hut, Domino's, and the local pizza place that you have around the corner. Every single form of advertisement you have ever seen about Pizza Hut is tons of quantity, decent price. They are quantity and price driven in every single one of their displays. Domino's is speed and technology. And think of the local one, for most people, it's going to be the highest quality in contrast to the two. And this introduces a very basic triangle of quality, quantity, and speed, all of which get determined in various decisions in making sales. You know, there's sometimes that you just want to go on Amazon because you don't want to deal with a salesperson. And if that's how you're buying a TV, that's fine. But if it's Super Bowl morning and your kid just threw a baseball through your screen, you're driving to Best Buy because you're watching that game. Speed became much more important than the quality of the experience in buying it. Likewise, knowing where you are and where you want to be in that spectrum is incredibly important. It's how you differentiate yourself fundamentally from other entities. There's no real difference, truly speaking, between a Domino's pizza, the local pizza place, and Pizza Hut. The recipe gets tweaked a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're talking about flour, sugar, salt, tomatoes, and cheese, and then some toppings. There's skill in how it goes in an artistry in terms of production of quality, but the true difference is your perception as a buyer about which one you want. And if a company does not stay consistent with what they're trying to be, they will break and incinerate. For instance, if Domino's came out tomorrow and said, you know what, we are no longer going to focus on being all the tech and being the super speed option. We're going to take 2 hours, but you are going to get the Taj Mahal equivalent of a pizza. They're going to have no more repeat customers. The market exists for that product. People buy it all the time. It's a very profitable product, but it would never work for them because of the way that they identified what they are. And in being true to yourself is the essence of how you go about in knowing the solution. So in our case of Casino Sales Master, we are producing clients that will heal the world. Because sales, when done correctly, a relationship connection from one to the other, will heal the world. It is the exact antithesis of trying to do a quick hit, use someone for a big commission. And I say that very boldly and proudly. I also say that knowing that anyone who's out there who's only looking for a quick hit this time solution says, I will never use Casino Sales Master. Good. Because that means my sales pipeline, our company will not get gummed up by having the wrong prospect go through it. You think Pizza Hut's going to have a fun time if someone comes up and keeps nitpicking them left and right about every single ingredient that they put on their pizza? No, that's not the audience they cater to. And likewise, that's how you find the prospects that will value you. Now, I do want to spend a moment here to dive into referral-based marketing because it is something that is incredibly important that often gets gummed up when we're talking about the topic of having prospects find and value you. There's two general ways of doing referral-based marketing. You either find center of influences who know a lot of people, or you talk to your existing customers, right? So I'm going to go through both examples and show where you get the failure in the situation and where you get the success in the situation. Let's start with existing customers. For this example, let's say that I'm selling life insurance. I get that some of you out there really hate the idea of buying life insurance because I'm going to have to deal with some things as a buyer I don't want to deal with, like the fact I might die. That ain't going to happen. I don't want to buy this. But blah, blah, blah. I go through the process. This guy convinces me I should buy it. I now bought life insurance. Cool. We're sitting here the day that I got the policy delivered to me, and he asked me, is there anyone else you know who I should talk to? Let's face it, terminology might be a little bit different, but that's effectively the question that most people ask and how they ask their clients when they want for referrals. And then you get deer in the headlights on 9 out of 10 of your prospects who will feel pressured into writing down 2 or 3 names that they pull out of their cell phone. You will get some who greatly adore you and give you their whole index and playbook of their phone book, but most of them don't work either. It's a bunch of calling people you thought were warm leads that didn't go anywhere. And yeah, you can do the process of nurturing them and doing group text or having a joint phone call and all that, but you've already missed the boat. If you want to have massive success in your referrals from your clients, you have to undo part of what you had to do to get the sale. In the sale, you had to go through all of the individual buyers' experiences to make that sale happen. That's what the buyer's brain went through. What happens if I don't wake up tomorrow? And that's a lot of personal energy. And yes, I chose life insurance because it's one of the most personal sales you can have. But the extreme is teaching well. Oh, there's a lot of fears that go on if I don't wake up tomorrow. That's bad. So if you immediately just ask them for someone, essentially what you're asking them is give me your best friend so I can put them through the same hell I just put you through. Because that's the red flags that they come up. So you have to get out of the individual micros that you solved with this client to back to the macro of the core essence of what you did. The core essence of what we did is We protected a parent who loves and cares about his kids to make sure that everything will be taken care of if you don't wake up in the morning. So my question for you, knowing that's what we just did for you, what other parents do you know that love and care about their kids, but probably have never thought about what it would be like if they don't wake up tomorrow? Much more directed, much more guided question than just tell me people you know. And that process of stepping out of the micros of their individual purchase and why they purchased to the macros is the key in all of this. So it doesn't matter whether it's business to business or B2C, by the way. I use a B2C example. This is applicable in B2B as well, which we're going to dive into the next section. But you have to know that up front. Now let's dive into the portion of center of influences. People that, we're next to each other. My jurisdiction of my company ends here, yours ends here, but there's people that need to jump across our fences. So sticking with the life insurance, those attorneys over there, they know that they can give their clients tax breaks or benefits for estate planning and what have you if there's life insurance involved. We all know that, but they don't sell life insurance. They're attorneys. They don't got time for this, and vice versa. I don't know how to do what they're doing. So I should go meet lots of attorneys and convince them to give me clients. And for the vast majority of people who go through that exercise, perhaps you were referred to this on LinkedIn, just trying to see what it was. And I don't know if I should do anything with it. It normally doesn't come to pass if there's not already a connection. Because that person who is the center of influence, in this case, that attorney, is just going to look at you from what he assumes you are, because there has been no connection relationship of going through your experience. And effectively what you're asking them is, can I use your book of business that you've worked your whole career to build? I'll give you a little bit of, a revenue share. So can I buy it at a very cheap rate and hope that you don't take advantage of my clients? When you look at it from the attorney's perspective, there's no wonder why you haven't ever gotten any quality referrals sent your way. You might get a test one in the beginning here and there, but you're never going to really get the crux of it, the vast majority, the critical mass, whatever terminology you want to use, until that attorney trusts that the experience you're going to give his clients is worthy to the experience he gives his clients. And that is a very hard barrier to overcome unless you're willing to invest time, vice versa. One of the ways you can do that is by literally sitting in with the attorney for a day, doing a ride around, seeing this is what they do, this is how I do it, and seeing if there is crossover. Because likewise, you don't want to send your clients to someone who doesn't represent or act in the way that you want to. Going back to how we find clients that value us in the first place, the consistency, the constancy. So you have to be willing to put in that time if you want to get the results out of it. The macros of the client experience are what we're truly referring, not the fear and anguish that it took for me to buy the life insurance, but what I got out of this. And at the end of the day, it wasn't as bad as what I thought. That skill set opens up center of influences. Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, but it's the way to get there. And for those that want to go down that route, it is drastically successful. Under the radar skill number 3. As my phone goes off and blows up. The joys of having technology, everybody. Skill number 3. How to connect with prospects on their emotional level. No doubt about all of this is they're all relationships. Every element in which I have discussed henceforth is about connecting and strengthening your relationships. But as discussed in the beginning, the relationship between buyers and sellers here starts with lying and using each other and not wanting to be near each other. Barrier central. So how do I get a prospect to tell me the truth about why they're actually here. Here's an idea. Let's punt, because that's a really hard question and I don't want to do it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to stay on the surface of the problem, up here on the surface level of the water. We're going to be in our nice little boat, and we're going to talk about our features and our benefits. Just stay purely in the context of the product. Features and benefits. You're going to buy mine because in 0.3% of trials, we are 20% better. So buy my drug. Do it. You're going to want it. Nah, I'm going to keep prescribing the same stuff I was. I'm just going to stand around and yell, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Nah, I'm just going to keep doing what I was. Features and benefits are not why people buy a truck. 4 wheels and an engine have never moved a truck. What have people buy a truck for is, I can haul my boat. I can go take all my kids with them. We have the great party of the weekend. Or, you know what? I really, really hate having to bend my knees to get down into a sedan, but being in a truck, I don't feel the pain anymore. Or I really, really hate getting headlights in my rearview mirror. And if I'm in a truck, that won't happen. Those are all wildly different reasons why someone would buy a truck. None of them have anything to do with 4 wheels or an engine. So there's obviously prerequisites in that. The engine needs to be strong enough to haul your boat. The truck needs to be high enough off the ground so your knees don't bend, and high enough off the ground so the headlights don't get you. Sure, there's prerequisites in all of our products. But what's actually driving the sale is getting that prospect to identify with you, to connect with you, to tell you the truth of their world. That is the key. That is the third skill in which we're talking about here. So, how do we go from, hey, nice to meet you, I want to talk to you, my product will greatly enhance your company so that you can now have massive market share. If you just sign up with our marketing firm, you will get this benefit. And that might be true. And that prospect, deep down, might know he needs to do something. And he might know that there's massive ramifications on not just himself, his company, but his life and his family. But you can't just go from, hey, nice to meet you. You know, if you don't buy my stuff, your kid's going to die because she's going to starve to death? That's not how conversations work. Like literally, I just had a lag in my internet here because it was trying not to have me tell you that. That's how bad you're not supposed to do that. But there has to be a way to go from surface level features and benefits to get to the real truth of why someone's actually buying from you. And I tell you emphatically that the features and benefits are never the reason they're really buying from you. Whether it be business to business or business consumer, it does not matter. Sure, there might be only one procurement officer that I have to sell my iron ore to, but they're not necessarily buying from me because of the features and benefits. It's because that procurement officer is sitting there going, you know what? I need to take at least 3 quotes or else my boss is going to yell at me. I don't really care which one picks. He doesn't care which one gets picked either. He just cares that I get 3 of them and it looks like a logical argument. Well, if you would have found that out, you would have attacked it a lot differently. You would have had a much different conversation than just submitting blindly and basically playing roulette or playing a slot machine and hoping your number comes up. Because that's not how it works. That's how many submission proposal systems do work. So, how about we start this a little bit differently? Let's actually communicate with the procurement officer. Instead of just emailing into info only at, let's actually talk to who that person is. And if we can't figure out who that person is exactly, let's guesstimate and take a shot. What's the worst case scenario? We get to talk to someone else. In every single one of those contact points, whether it be with an assistant to a vice president, the actual vice president himself, or all the way up to the CEO, what's going to drive the decision is their personal impact upon it. whether it be to not pick you or to pick you. And if you cannot get that answer articulated about what's in it for me as the decision maker in this moment in time, you'll never get there. And make no doubt, each person from the assistant to the vice president to the CEO is a decision maker. That decision is, should I push you on to the next person or not? Well, again, most people are punting on this problem. I'm just going to try to DM the hell out of the CEO and just keep blasting him until he picks up. Okay, you can be just like everyone else. Or we can go through the chain of actually having personal connections. Have a conversation with that assistant. It says, hey, I understand you probably get a ton of people calling you. That was true 10 years ago. It's not true now. Part of your job is to make sure he doesn't get bothered. I get that. But I also know that in your world, bad things could happen if you don't pass it along. Is that right? So what do you want me to do? I want you to not get in trouble because I am a person who needs to get through to talk to him. Tell me how we can figure this out and what we should do. How different is that approach versus trying to cut the corner and DM and blindside people? Now you're getting a direct email from the person they hired saying you need to talk to him. Who has better starting leverage? Who actually will have a conversation with the ultimate decision maker before the proposal is ever written? And who actually ends up not having to write proposals? All of this adds up to being how you dominate and how you get to the emotions of the buyer. You have to be able to communicate with them and get to their truth. Now, these are all little inroad steps to what happens if. And unfortunately, there is no universal sales script on how do you build a relationship. It starts with them knowing when they look into your eyes that they are not going to be hurt. That is the training drills that we teach people every weekday during Casino Sales Master. The training drills so that when they look at you, I can be comfortable. You're not going to be in that eons list of people that I don't want to know anything about me, which includes all those fake DMs I'm seeing. Good job, AI. But if I actually can look in your eyes and I get the reception that I want to trust you, that I actually want to make a connection with you, well, now I'll buy from you. This is how selling used to be when it was done right and it was done pure. This is the secret essence that the 1% keep within them. Connecting on that pure and primal level. Something deep down inside me says I can trust you. And I'm going to. You can move mountains with that. That's how you dominate B2B sales, by the way. That is the essence of how you connect with your prospects on their emotional level. Now, I mentioned a couple times in here the different things that Casino Sales Master will be able to offer people in its coaching course and within its course overall. First off, you can find it at casinosalemaster.win. Casinosalemaster.win. Yeah, the story, and when you read the book, does involve a casino. I put .win in it because I thought it was fun. So what we have is the essence starting block of how to train you to be able to become that person that we need to trust. The person I just know if I open up to, nothing bad will happen. Every weekday, you get a drill that is specifically designed to enhance those skills. And just as you think of any NFL team, when they do their practice, every second of the practice is not 11 on 11 full out, but rather taking specific elements of what a play would be and practicing it, such as how to take a snap, how to do a handoff. And we do get into that granular level of being able to teach you to be able to become the emotional equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So when someone sees you, they just know you're the one I need to be with. We also have the other 20 plus courses that are all about specifically teaching a bite-sized element of the course. And this is a transformation in which our clients go from. Yes, you're going to learn how to sell and you're going to be able to dominate economically speaking. That's going to happen. But the bigger transformation that our clients get is where it comes to the emotional and relationship size. For history of mankind, people have gotten the question of what makes a successful life wrong. It used to be the answer was give me the most power. If I have maximum power, I will have a great life. And then the answer became give me the most money. If I have the most money, I will have the great life. Then for a couple of generations, it was time. Just give me all of the time and my life will be perfect. And now it seems the answer is fame. Just give me more and more followers and everything will be great. All of it is wrong, has been wrong, and forever will be wrong. The true answer how to have a great and successful life is to maximize your relationships and the quality therein. That is the transformation that you receive ultimately from being in a casino sales master. You get all of the daily contact to make sure that you are doing your drills and participating in it, because there's no reason paying for a physical trainer if you're not going to actually do the exercises. On top of that, we do weekly trainings that are in person or, well, via the internet, that we're actually communicating with each other live rather than a pre-recorded video. And in those, there's two types of trainings. First is what is your problem of the moment, and we address it. The second type is when a course member is brave enough to show one of their sales calls, and we literally break down the tape, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, the horrible, whatever the case may be, we break it down to be able to teach it emphatically. In the process of this, we make sure that you will succeed, because sales will heal the world when they are done correctly. And I fully believe that when you go through this course, I believe it because I've seen it and I know it, that you will heal the world. Changing from this residue of the horrible, just use people for what they have system to actually building meaningful relationships and doing it in an effective manner is how you succeed in changing the world. For the first 5 people that sign up today, not only are we doing all the other stuff that I mentioned already, we also are going to be giving a personalized one-on-one introductory call to be able to take the specific element of where you're at right now and maximize it to the nth degree. So I invite you all again to click on casinosalemaster.win, casinosalemaster.win, and I look forward to helping you guys on the ongoing basis. Now, as I said, I'm giving you 4 of these skills that the top 1% mastered and are using that are under the radar. The last one here is also a relationship building skill that will take you to the nth degree. And that is paying it forward, but paying it forward in a very specific way. I want you to think of someone you wish to have a relationship with 10 years from now, someone you have a relationship with already, and you want to continue to have a relationship with them 10 years from now. For the sake of this illustration, I'm going to choose a child. Find an arbitrary date in the future, again, at least 10 years in advance. For this example, their high school graduation. And once a week, you take your cell phone out and you either do a selfie video or an audio note talking to that person how they will be in the future. You talk about them about literally anything you want, as long as you do it every week at minimum. Talking to them for what they will be at that age. And there'll be things that happen in the moment now that you want to tell them, but you can't because the situation might not be right. For instance, the reason your mom and I freaked out when you brought your first boyfriend home when you were 12-year-old was this. We couldn't tell you this in the moment when you were 12, but this is the reality of why. As you do this consistently, you will share things that are deeply important to you that you wish you would have known growing up. You'll share things that are, quite frankly, probably trivial, like the reason you drafted, I don't know, Colt McCoy back in the day on your fantasy team. The point being is that every step along the way, when you do that recording, you are going to be thinking about that person and what your relationship will be. This is a starting point of intentional relationship building. And as you think about what that person will be and what our connection together will be, every action you do subconsciously will start changing. It'll start working yourself towards that conclusion. Maybe not exactly the way you painted the picture, but as Bob Ross always said, there's always happy accidents. And as you're putting yourself and thinking about the future, your brain will take you there. Your actions will start to converge there. And when you do this, you will end up having a spillover effect into every other relationship in your life. Coworker to boss, coworker to coworker, parent to child, husband to wife, driver to driver on the highway. It spills over. And what you ultimately will find for your own selfish reasons, your stress will diminish, your blood pressure will diminish, the receiving out exponential forces coming at you in terms of other people's energy and emotions will improve. And the world and that relationship in which you're building for that person will grow and get better. From that person's perspective, the child's perspective, finishing this analogy, they'll be able to see you as the parent or grandparent in more than just one of the three default ways our memory works. Think back to your own parents. In all likelihood, you think of them when they were one of three ages in your life. Right when you were in young elementary school, kindergarten-ish, what they were when you were like in high school, and somewhere in the middle, which depends upon whether your gender is. The point being is that intellectually, we know they got older every single day. We know their voice changed just a little bit every single day, but we only recall them in that stark fashion, especially if something severe happened, like they had a health issue and it radically changed. When you go through this process, they are going to have you on a regular basis teaching them what it is you want them to know in a way that you weren't able to tell them when they're young, as a reference point for the rest of their lives. Now, I've been teaching people this drill for years. And I can tell you, not everyone always listens about the 10-year out thing. We've had a number of people do this for just 1 year out, recording every single week a message that they wanted to give to their spouse for an X year anniversary, a 20th and a 50th we've done this for. In both cases, the little playlist that they put in a USB stick was much more valuable to the recipient than the multi-thousand piece of jewelry that was also presented. Giving a part of yourself and your relationship skills and your desires for that person and your fears and your anxieties and your hopes and your dreams into someone can never be a better investment in another person, period. That is how you intentionally build your relationships to the future. It's how you intentionally invest in someone in an exponentially meaningful way that goes beyond economic currency. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the 4 under the radar skills that the top 1% are using. I greatly hope that you check us out at casinosalemaster.win. And as I promised, I will open up the final part of this episode to the questions that we were presented throughout the show. My behind the scenes man,
yes,
on this stuff all the time, I can't see them. So what do we?
So the first question is from Gregory. Greg was asking, how do you understand the emotional motivations behind a customer's purchase?
Yeah, I mean, long story short, got to talk to them. So assuming that they already bought through you from a internet-based platform where you didn't have a chance, where you just basically, they clicked Amazon, and you delivered, you have to then make an additional contact point after the fact. We see lots of different ways about doing this in our society, some of which being the fill this out for a rebate, and then that survey gives you the bonus. But that's ultimately what you have to do. You have to have a regular follow-up to figure out why they bought from you. And then that's just the fundamental answer. So surveys are a great way to do about it. But really, if you're selling correctly, you should know about it in person before you get there. So, Gregor, I'll also answer that deeper in one-on-one for your specific. If there's a specific deeper need for that, I'll gladly answer that. Just DM me.
There you go. So the next question is from Scott Kaplan. Scott asked, for step 3, how to connect with prospects on their emotional level. My question is, how do you determine their emotional level before/at start of meeting, and what tips to help identify/get to the truths?
Okay, Scott. So it's going to start by relying upon yourself. Being an adult, you can be able to intellectually tell that guy's comfortable or they're not. He's angry or he's happy. We have to trust that feeling, just flat out. That gets into the vulnerability I was talking about at the top. You have to be able to trust what it is that you're sensing from the other person. Because there's a lot of times, because no one knows how they form their own relationships, they don't even know what they're feeling. That's why therapy is like the fastest growing profession in the world right now. So you have to trust what your own initial feelings are that they are going from and where they're at. Do not make assumptions in this game, but you do have to trust your ability. And then you have to be willing to actually step out of your comfort zone and ask them when they get pushback. Because at some point, you're going to get pushback because no one else ever dives into their ocean of emotion. Everyone else is hanging out in features and benefits up top, partying on top of the water. No one wants to scuba dive down to in their ocean of emotions. So at some point, you're going to get pushback. And at that moment in time, if they trust you, they'll go deeper with you. If they don't, they won't. Just think of this example. When you go skydiving, you have to be with an instructor. If you're with an instructor who is worried and fidgety and not like darting his eyes and stuff, are you letting him strap onto your back to make sure you don't plummet face first in the earth? Or are you going to pick the guy who's cool, calm, and collected, who just looks like, got this, done this 5 million times, it's going to be all good? That is where you have to be. And this is something that you just intellectually will know about each other when you do it. You know, you're either fit enough for the race or you're not. And that is what happens. Because if you're leaving it to chance, it goes back to your own personal math. I have 3 best friends and 5,000 people I don't want to know about me. What are the odds that you land correctly in that equation? So to answer your question about how do you know, you figure out how to communicate with them in the effective means based upon how you swim within your own ocean of emotions.
So the next question is from Joe. She asks, how do you manage your follow-ups? And do you have any app suggestions to do that?
So it depends upon which platform we're talking about here. But yes, you definitely want to have some form of a consistent follow-up and approach, whether it be on the all steps along the way, prospecting, mid-sale, etc. And there's lots of different tools. I don't really want to advertise one specific because I literally use 7 of them. But the point is, what they all do is they reach out, they follow the rules of whatever platform you're on, whether it be email, LinkedIn, whatever. They follow the rules so that you're technologically sound. But at the end of the day, it's not about the AI written content. It's about being able to bust into the emotions of what your client is expecting. So always start with their perspective of where they're at. And do not do the guessing game of you might be feeling anxious, or you might be feeling nervous, or you might be feeling scared. That's instantly just destroying half of your follow-ups, because if that's not how they're feeling, you just said, I'm not listening, you don't care about you, I don't want to be with you. That's what your thing said, whether you want to actually acknowledge it or not. So your follow-ups more so need to be pings to you to do an action. So in my specific case, most of us were connected here via LinkedIn. They were all dings, contact this person, contact this person, contact this person. And then based upon the responses I got from you, I responded accordingly like a normal person would. And that's really the key to all this. take off the what's the right word? Affect that most businesses try to pour on people through branding. Just be a regular person, trust your skills, and make sure that when you give your responses, they are personal, they are authentic. Even if at the end of the day, you're still trying to accomplish the same thing of taking them down to the next step in the process. You still need to be real and authentic with them. And unfortunately, there is no one size fits all answer to that question. So you have to put some time and energy into it. And hiring actual people is a lot better than hiring robots.
That's a great answer. I love that. So, next question is from Craig. Craig asked, was there a specific story or event in your life that taught you one or more of these techniques?
Yeah, there's pretty much three, and I'll cut them down quickly. So the first is like any great sales coach, you're going to have your own sales coach. Mine is Dan Hudock, who trained me in the traditional elements of all of the parts of the sales, and he's fantastic. I love you, Dan. I hope you're watching. He's also in the people I thanked in my book category, and that's what makes this easy because they're all people I thanked in the first pages of my book. The second is Father Boniface Hicks. Father and I have been doing a podcast since 2017. Long story short, he is in charge of the entire English language portion of the world for teaching the faith and doctrines to the priests. So talking to him weekly for what, 7 years now, Dan? 8 years, Stephen? Sorry, I'm trying to redo math and blanking in my head all at the same time.
Yeah, 8 years. Yep.
I have gotten a lot of different knowledge from him. And the one thing about every episode we do together is they're all about relationships. Everything I'm teaching here, half of the coin is relationships. So when you're talking to someone who is beyond PhD level educated every single day, you're going to learn from them. And that is the real two people that have driven the most. And then you combine that with my own, let's do trial and error and see if we can break stuff mentality. That's how you find yourself wandering into a casino with only $500 and saying, can I turn this one experience into a 2-week vacation? And I did. And then I did it again and again and again until the point where this is really a system. I should start teaching this to people. And all these sales skills in which we taught you along the way are how you learn them. So that's not a specific moment in time, but to have a true transformation, it's gradual. That there is no just boom, one click. And let's face it, they're not normally exciting. That's why every movie does a montage. You know, Rocky didn't become able to be Drago because of one run through the snow. It's a montage of him doing it 40 times. That's how life works.
That's awesome. I love that. So that was the last question in the comments, but I have one question since we have 2 minutes.
Awesome.
So what my question is, for the people who are similar to me, I do a lot of cold reach out. So if there's people who are at this point in their business where they are doing cold reach out, how do you get somebody to at least just say yes to talking to you? So how do you initially break through that wall and build that first part of the relationship, because before you ever get them on a call?
Yeah, you have to get to the most primal question everyone has. What do I get out of this? So whether it be from the subject line, why should I even click on this? Because obviously I don't know the who person. It's a cold outreach. So what am I getting out of this potential investment of my time, which I don't give to anyone, but I only give to the internet? That part's a little pun. But the real answer is, what do I get out of this? So am I actually giving, from the salesperson, am I giving something of value that is worthwhile to reach out to? So, for instance, one of my clients here does custom music. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we're reaching out to an industry we've never tried to before, which is funeral homes. They've never had someone approach them about custom songs for more. Why should they care? Well, because when I looked into it and actually sat down and thought about your world as a funeral home, there's no real way to make yourself different than the other funeral homes in your city. It's just, do we have a better staff? Are we a little bit cleaner? Are we in a nicer location? Most of that stuff you can't change overnight. But if you had a song that incredibly expedited the grieving process and made you so much healthier going through, well, then every single one of your clients and prospects are going to say, You got to go to Bob's funeral home. He's the one who actually gets us. I've never had anyone be able to make a custom song about that before. And then guess what? Now you differentiate yourself. So you articulate what you are going to get as the recipient, but not from the expectation of here's a check, I'm just giving you money, but what you're actually going to get that shows that you understand my world. So yeah, there's some thinking that actually goes into this that you have to put into it, but that's the number one thing. What are you going to get out of this that goes beyond the obvious? And when you can do that, your cold call rates exponentially jump. Now, that being said, because it's cold outreach, it's never going to hit 100%. There's too many technological barriers in the way, but they will jump beyond what is reasonable expectation.
Awesome. That's a great answer. That's
Perfect.
it. That's all of our questions.
All right. Well, it looks like we got like 21 comments. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for being here. And like to see it. CasinoSalesMaster.win. CasinoSalesMaster.win. Anyone else? Feel free to DM me. But we're going to hit the button and call this episode a day. Thank you all.